months ago to see that while the numbers have escalated and increased in terms of attacks against women, that government has not really found the teeth or the grit to pick up the recommendations.
What I can always do is to try to give my expertise and my guidance, recommendations, my capacity as the Commissioner of Police. There are things that I have operational capability to do, and I would do it. There are things that I would need to recommend to make an amendment.
Commissioner Fitz stands by his proposal, saying pepper spray has proven to be effective with tens of thousands of women across the globe.
Again, going back to the pepper spray, if persons say that pepper spray can be used by criminal elements as an avenue why it should not be done. Well, I would really truly will welcome if criminals use pepper spray because it seems that most of them have a gun right now. So the concept of saying do not issue pepper spray because criminals will get it. But then we should ban cutlasses, we should ban hockey sticks, we should ban a brick.
He says it is a device that can be regulated and ultimately enable women to protect themselves if necessary.
We don't have a firearm, but the pepper spray gives you a fighting chance to escape. And that's why sometimes people need that opportunity to escape. Again, be concerned that it can be given and issued to anyone. It can be regulated, and the same way it is done. I did the research in dozens of countries. There's not a say you can just buy it over the counter. The same way it is done. You need a prescription in a drugstore. It's regulated, so you know who signs for it, who will have it. All I want is to make sure that citizens have the opportunity to protect themselves. It is that the state cannot properly protect you. That will help me to help you.
TV6 News. Now tonight, the International Women's Resource Network is supporting calls by the Police Commissioner to the government to legalize pepper spray as a protective mechanism for women. IRWN says it notes that this call came months before, but has been ignored by the state, and warns that women are now at risk when commuting. Adriana Sandrine-Rattan, president of the network, laments that for far too long, innocent women have been harmed, and some have even lost their lives in the hands of demonic men posing as transport providers, as there are currently no measures in place to protect them. The National Security Minister says a report from experts on the use of pepper spray is now before the National Security Council. Stuart says the government will not act on whims, facts, or emotion on calls for alleged legalization of the use of pepper spray.
When the report being made, I was asked a question about pepper spray. I said that this government does make decisions on the hoof in a Vicky fashion. What I've done is I've asked experts for a report that can guide policy. I've now received that report. The National Security Council will consider the report and will presumably make a decision.
National Security Minister Stuart Young during a news conference on Tuesday, clarifying the government's position that there is no report before the Parliament at this time, adding the legalizing of the use of pepper spray as a non-lethal method of self-defense. Minister Young, which is holding the question as to whether the government had examined the recommendation made by the government last December for women to be allowed to carry pepper spray, would like to pause the measure after the murder of 18-year-old Ashanti Riley.
I am recommending is that this year can be a regulated item where it is registered for each and every person who wants to get pepper spray. You have to register to this. It's considered a firearm. Just as you have a firearm user's license, we have it regulated and registered to make sure that the person's permit is signed for it and we know who has it.
Months later, the National Security Minister indicated that the government would not rush any decision on the matter.
So government doesn't do things by vibes with fancy and reactive and emotional, as well, government shouldn't, let me put it that way. So what I've done and what I requested from specialists is a report and a suggestion with respect to policy and a comparison of what takes place in other jurisdictions. I have finally received that report, and that report will be discussed at the National Security Council and will then take a decision.
The National Security Council is chaired by Prime Minister Dr. King Rowley. As for when a decision will be made by the National Security Council,
it is not a very simple decision. There are a lot of for and against arguments, etc. I have not an opinion timeline on it.
Jewel Brown, TV6 News.
And that story takes us to tonight's People Meet on Talents. Do you support calls for women to be allowed to arm themselves with pepper spray and a fighting measure? Vote text yes or no. The number 42 will have you all voted at the end of this podcast. One of the men fingered as a suspect said to have no less than 70 charges before the court, 5 of them rape. In each instance, he was called before a judge. He was granted bail. Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi, speaking from a general standpoint, says, when the Bail Act collapsed, government was left with an alternative which could not stand up to its predecessor. Alicia Boucher has more in this report.
The opposition refused to support amendments to the 1994 Bail Act, which had reached its sunset in 2017, following amendments in 2011. Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi says it left a void.
We then went to the Parliament and we had to get amendments done to the Bail Act, which was not as potent and as strong as the Bail amendments we had, which Mr. Gaddafi just allowed to collapse. Those amendments which collapsed provided a significant amount of routine restriction.
However, through the Section 5 amendments which government made in 2019, the AG says if a person is charged with an offence in the second part of the first schedule and has a pending charge for another offence listed in that second part, based on the provisions of the Bail Act, the court should not grant bail, except for in exceptional circumstances. Sexual offences punishable by more than 10 years, an offence under the Kidnapping Act punishable by more than 10 years, sexual offences against children and human trafficking offences are included in this listing.
But I must remind you that prior to that, Mr. that were led in charge with the UN, not supporting the intention of the provision, which Mr. Gaddafi enjoyed as Prime Minister.
Magistrates can exercise powers of discretion. The AG says it is important for judicial officers to be aware of the realities of society.
I do think because that our judges need to be independent with the actions of Trinidad and Tobago. However, in their defense, I might add that prior to the very significant amendments that have been introduced in the last couple of years, there was no effective data management, and therefore tracing exercises took some time.
So in the absence of computerized records, which the judiciary now has, the AG is not surprised that there are cases where bail was granted under circumstances they probably not be at this time.
In general, persons may very well have been beneficiaries of bail conditions granted in a time when they did not appear being despite I again repeat call to the leader of the opposition that she needs to encourage responsibility in this country and to support the bill amendments which the government has working on trying to pass. This is Gaddafi that says we need to support the anti-gang legislation where sexual offences and also the justice that is also the gang activity for. And this is Gaddafi that says we need to stop playing with witnesses' lives and to support the use of anonymous witness evidence.
Alicia Boucher, TV6 News.
Opposition leader Khalifah Al-Bassasa issues a statement on Facebook today, urging relatives to keep the faith as she joins the nation in prayer for the safe return of Andrea Barrett. She says, quote, my thoughts go out to the young woman's family. I know this is a harrowing experience, but I urge you to keep the faith. We are all praying for Andrea and all our brothers and sisters who remain missing. End quote. She issued a prayer for members of the protective services and volunteers. Mrs. Al-Bassasa says, quote, this is a challenging time for our country, but by supporting each other and with the grace of God, we will overcome it. End quote. Still to come tonight, Tracy Davidson Celestin says the PNL wants a resolution of the impasse of the THA sooner rather than later. This is one of Zambia receives death threats. Still to come.
Don't be fooled with inferior substandard filters. Value your car. It's one of your biggest investments. Sakura filters are produced and designed to enhance the full potential and lifespan of your vehicle. Distributed in more than 120 countries worldwide, Sakura filters, quality protection your car deserves.
Welcome to the historic Mount Elvin Bay Resort for golf, relaxation, and the
Best in Caribbean hospitality. Enjoy the views from our 19th century sugar mill restaurants and relax on our beach in comfort. Our scenic location is the perfect venue for an outdoor wedding. With socially distanced conferencing facilities, our COVID-19 protocols ensure all our events are safe. For reservations, call 298-1671 or email info@ntirvine.com.
You should start online banking. And really, it's easy. It's not as difficult as you think. Anybody can manage online banking.
Have you tried for online banking and mobile app yet? Give us a try.
First, THA Chief Secretary Bujoy Charles is calling on Progressive Democratic Patriots leader Watson Duke to stop using trade unionism to attempt to govern Tobago. Mr. Charles told TV6 that last night's behavior by the 6th PDP assemblyman who sat in the Assembly chamber overnight was improper. With more of this Elizabeth Williams report.
So then we stop these trade union tactics and this foolishness that they're doing in the assembly, looking to incite and excite these actions are not proper.
Mr. Charles says, after long years meeting of the assembly, when 12 assemblymen failed to elect a presiding officer, every other sitting without an elected presiding officer is illegal. He quotes the THA Act 40 of 1996, sections 62 and 63.
Nobody else can summon the executive presiding officer. And if there is no presiding officer, there can be no summoning of the oath by anybody else. So everything that took place after that is illegal, improper.
Mr. Charles is today asking, under whose authority is the clerk of the assembly operating?
And no one's going to do no one is illegal or otherwise. And that is why they are making London.
Elizabeth Williams, D6 News.
PNM Tobago Council political leader Trace Davidson Celestin says she intends to write to Prime Minister Dr. Cliff Rowley towards a quick resolution to the present election deadlock in Tobago. Ms. Davidson Celestin stated the issue must be resolved sooner rather than later. With more from Elizabeth Williams.
I am calling on both the Chief Secretary and the Prime Minister to start escalating and advancing those decisions so that that decision can be made within the shortest possible time frame.
Mrs. Davidson Celestin insists that the PNM is not trying to steal any election.
So it is not a case of PNM trying to steal the elections in any way, or the PNM is doing some corrupt kind of arrangement to keep them in office. The law says from the Tobago House of Assembly Act that the Executive Council continues to function.
Davidson Celestin also speaks about the now controversial Zipline project and maintains that she had no direct involvement.
I had no direct involvement in that particular exercise. There is no issue of corruption in that particular arrangement from my end and from my perspective.
She has again called on Progressive Democratic Patriots Deputy Political Leader Fali Augustine to take to the police any information he has linking her to anything untoward.
But I am in no way directly involved in any mismanagement of any funding. And so I am calling on the Deputy Political Leader of the PDP to clear my name.
David Celestin spoke during a PNM media conference in Scarborough. Elizabeth Williams, D6 News.
Resignations and new appointments as the saga of the 6-6 stalemate continues in the Tobago House of Assembly following the January 25th THA elections. Retired School Principal Marcel Maldo Jack is the new Secretary of Education, Innovation and Energy. Again, here's Elizabeth Williams.
THA Chief Secretary Ansel Dennis now assumed responsibility for the division of food production, forestry and fisheries, in addition to his current portfolio as Secretary of Tourism, Culture and Transportation, while Assemblyman Tracy Davidson Celestin now has responsibility for the division of
of Sport and Youth Affairs. According to the Chief Secretary, all assistant secretaries, by virtue of no longer being members of the Tobago House of Assembly, have since limited office. These new changes come on the heels of the requested resignations on Monday of Assemblyman Joe Pitt, Kevin Charles, and Hayden Spencer. And according to Section 34.1 of the Tobago House of Assembly Act 40 of 1996, the Executive Council shall be responsible for the carrying out of the functions of the Assembly, and the Chief Secretary may, for that purpose, undertake or assign to a Secretary responsibility for any such function. The following members of the Tobago House of Assembly (TEG) will be assigned to the respective functions in addition to their current portfolios. The Chief Secretary says he wants to assure the Tobago public that the Executive Council will endeavor to keep the business of the people of Tobago and the Tobago House of Assembly as top priority, and efforts will be made to minimize disruptions of good governance. Elizabeth Williams, 6 News. Threats have been made on the life of TJ Assemblyman Mr. Deans and his family, and while Mr. Deans told members of the media the matter was not reported to the police, he's calling for consent to prevail on the life of TJ Assembly's threats have come along with the election results, and him still being a sitting Assemblyman.
Friends have been issued to my family and even myself via social media about this particular issue. And that's not the mature way to deal with it.
The Progressive Democratic Patriots have initiated legal action against the Office of the Clerk of the Assembly for failing to properly carry out the process of electing a presiding officer. This follows Monday night's sit-in protest action at the Assembly's chamber by the 6 PDP Assemblyman and the suspension of the House of the Clerk on Monday. Report from Elizabeth Williams.
Tobago's autonomy needs to be fast-tracked. This from Progressive Democratic Patriots PDP leader wants to do, as he, along with 5 assemblymen, staged a sitting protest at the Assembly chamber on Monday into Tuesday morning. A heavy police presence as the PDP supporters waited outside the chamber, awaiting the arrival of the 6 assemblymen. Deputy political leader of the PDP, Farley Dustin, addressed those gathered in support.
This is a perfect opportunity for all of us as Tobagonians first to meet, vote down any sale to a PDJ vote, which will be very symbolic. Landed for a spade, all hands and toss the busy right road, because we are not enough to get over walls up Frederick Street, go to the Red House, and say to both PNM and UNC Trinidad, it's cool long enough for Tobago, and Tobago's autonomy.
And as it said, as the stalemate continues, he is worried that the Assembly is being operated without accountability, despite this being debunked by the PNM.
There's no avenue for the representatives to go and ask a question. We can't bring a motion, we can't debate anything, no public accounts committee.
PDP leader wants to added it was necessary that the Assembly is made a working body.
We need to make our own laws for good governance and public order. Nobody was saying was in Trinidad. What we need to do.
Elizabeth Williams, 6 News.
Fiona joins us now with another forecast.
All right, Nisha, let's jump into what's happening across the island, because what we're seeing from the Trinidad Tobago Met Service is that we maintain that hazardous seas alert. It will continue to be in effect, but that's not all that we're seeing coming out where data is concerned and information. What we have into this evening is what's going on with our reservoir supplies. So it's put a little smile on your face this evening, because as of yesterday's figures from WASO, what we're noticing is that it is on the good side where water collection is in our nation's reservoirs. As well, we're seeing positive changes compared to last year, big improvements as well within the last couple of weeks. And you notice that our current percentages compared to our long-term averages, not too bad, not a big gap, but it's definitely right on track. Remember, the month of February is going to be above normal, where we have rainfall activity, so these figures should only be good news for wet weather to come in our forecast. But we still have a lot of dry and fair conditions to deal with, as well as Sahara dust. That dust group will be picking up yet again into the rest of this week. So you want to have your medication on hand, your Alevas, your inhalers. For those of you that may have or may encounter health problems, generally though, we have an area of high pressure in the Atlantic that's continuing to produce strong winds and it's going to be agitating our seas a little bit more. Now, what that means for you marine interests, and this is not just fishermen, but all of you thinking about heading to the beaches, it means that that hazardous seas alert has been extended by the Trinidad and Tobago Met Service, and it will take us all the way into Friday. We'll touch on that a little bit more in our marine forecast, so stay tuned for that. But in what's happening closer to home in terms of our general weather tonight and tomorrow,
Hello, entrepreneurs. This business girl will discover how Cozy Home manages its furniture store. They sell upscale furniture and home accessories from sofas and coffee tables for the living room to beds and nightstands for the bedroom. They have a showroom in San Francisco, but don't keep much in stock. Most of their products are only purchased from their suppliers when the items are sold. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before selling anything, marketing comes into play. The role of the marketing department is to generate leads for the sales team. There are different ways of doing that, so let's start with the main one by building a website for Cozy Home. I'm going to jump to Odoo, go directly to the website application, and then the front end of the website by clicking on Go to Website. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is actually switch my theme. So I'm going to click on the Edit button. Now, I chose a theme when I first created my database, but I want a different theme. So I'm going to click on Options now. And then I will scroll to the very bottom and click on Switch Theme. Okay, then we'll have a lot of theme options to choose from. All right, we have a lot of beautiful options. We can even have a live preview of the theme, but I'm going to use Glossary. So I'm going to click on Use this theme. Having a modern website is a must to attract customers nowadays. And as you're going to see, designing one will only take a few minutes with the website app. All right, so my theme has been applied, and I'm now redirected to the website application. So let's start building Cozy Home's website with a simple drag and drop of a few of these building blocks. All right, so since I switched themes, it's going to direct me right away to the edit mode. And then I'll have a lot of options to choose from for my structure. So I'm first going to drag and drop a cover. All right, now I'm going to add my building blocks before I change the content because I want to get an idea of what the structure will look like first. All right, and then let's add some columns below that. All right, and we have a lot of options. I think below that we're also going to choose quotes. All right, cool. So now that I have added some of these building blocks, let's go ahead and change the content. So I'm going to start again with the cover. So let's change this. What do we want to say? That's the question. I will say, awaken your inner home designer. Okay, great. And then I'm also going to edit my subtitle as well. So let's say we hand pick furniture designer brands. And I'm also going to change this button, and I'm going to say discover our brands. Right, I can even link this button to another page I'll create later on, so that when my visitors click on that button, they'll be redirected to the page where they can discover our brands, but I won't do that for now. All right, so let's look at our style options on the right. So I'm going to click on background here. And I'm going to see some color combinations that I can choose from. Of course, the background is an image, so the color of that image is not going to change, but I want to see some color combinations for the text that I have on this cover. All right, so all I have to do is hover over the different combinations, and then I will see what they look like. So I don't have to manually apply the combination in order to check it out. I simply have to hover, which is really nice. And then I can give you an idea of what I like best. So I think I like this one, so I'm just going to select it. And just like that, it's been applied. And of course, I do have some custom options as well, but I like the combinations that are already laid out for me. Okay, and then you can change some other things here as well. But let's move on to our next book. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start changing the pictures that we're going to see here. So to add a picture, either to add a picture I already uploaded or another item, I can just simply double click. All right, and then I can go ahead and select an image that I uploaded, or there's also a database of royalty-free images that can be used as well. So you just have to search for specific keywords. So let's say furniture, for example, and search. And then it's going to load many photo options that I see here. So I can choose through a bunch of different images that would be really great. And if I just want to see the images that I've uploaded, I just have to remove the search, and then I'll go back to my images. So I'm going to start applying these, actually. So I've added one. Again, we're going to double click, add another, and my last image as well. I'm very proud of my images, or very proud of Cozy Combs images. All right, so that looks good, and then I'll add the rest of the content later. All right, so then we have our quotes, and here we will add quotes from customers, but as they don't currently have any customers, I'm actually going to review this, and it's very easy. I just need to select, and then I'll click on the trash bin icon on the right. All right, but I will replace that block with another one. So in fact, I'm going to replace it with a text block, and this is where they will later add a short story about their history and values, which is actually kind of important. So let's put that above our column. So I'm simply going to click on this little arrow. Now you'll notice if it's at the top or the bottom, you will of course only see the arrow in one direction, but as it's between two other blocks here, I have both up and down arrows. All right, so that's really easy. I can also change the size just like that. All right, so that looks really good. Again, I'm going to add more content later, but what's important to do now is to click on Save. Now, Cozy Home will start to get visitors, and they don't just want people visiting the homepage, but they also want to turn these visitors into leads or opportunities for the sales team. So to do that, we're going to create a basic call to action page. So I'm going to click on New right here. And before I do that, I do just want to point out how fast it was to create the homepage, and I don't have any designing skills, so it's so easy and convenient. All right, so let's create a new page. I'm going to click on plus, and I'm going to add a page, and let's call this free shipping. All right, I can say if I would like it to appear on the menu or not, and I would, so I'm going to click on continue. All right, so it's going to redirect me to that new page right away. And we're going to add some blocks again. So the first block we're going to add is going to be a title. And here I will say register and get free shipping on your first order. All right. And then we have some options again, some style options, and I actually want to change the height. And once again, I just have to hover to see what my options are here. I don't have to click. I just have to hover, which is really cool. And I'm going to go with auto. All right, nice. And then I'm going to jump back to my blocks. All right, and now what I'm going to do is actually add a tailor or form that visitors will need to fill out in order to benefit from this promotion. So I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to drag and drop the form block. All right, cool. It's added just like that. So let's go ahead and select and start changing some things. So the first thing that I want to change is actually the action that will happen when the visitor presses the submit button. So Cozy Home wants to have the form feed all the information into the CRM application and create an opportunity. Now that's way more efficient than receiving the information by email and manually entering everything, because right now we have the action set as email. So I'm going to change this and put create an opportunity. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to modify the form a little bit. So I'm going to select some fields, and I'm actually going to change the size of some of these fields. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to do the same with the phone number, so I want these guys to be next to each other. And I'm going to do the same with these fields right here as well. And the company. All right, so that looks much better already. Now we're going to see is that some of these fields are mandatory because some of them have asterisks, like your company. So what I want to do is actually make sure that that's not required. So I'm going to come down here in my field options, and I'm going to uncheck required. All right, so that looks good for now. Something I forgot to do when I was changing the action of the form, which is also very important, at least for Cozy Homes, is to specify a sales team, a salesperson. So while I'm over here, I'm just going to go to the top and click on America for the sales team and Beauty Caroline for the salesperson, because she's the person that handles all the opportunities that are created from this form. All right, so now that I've done that, again, it's all in the details. We don't want to miss anything. I'm going to go back to my fields. All right, I'm going to edit the text. I'm going to edit the label name here. All right, so instead of subject, that's a little bit boring, I'm going to say, what are you interested in? Or what are you looking for? All right, and then of course you can see what that looks like on the left, which is really nice. And I'm also going to change the question as well. So I don't want this to be a text field at all. In fact, I want them to choose, to select different tags. So I'm going to scroll down. So I'm going to change the type of the field, and I'm going to click on tags. All right, and I see I have a typo on one of my tags, which I can change later in the application. All right, so this form looks pretty good for now. So let's save this, and we're going to fill in the form to create the business opportunity directly in Cozy Homes CRM. So let's first add a name. I'll say Jackson, add a phone number, email. All right. Again, I made your company field not mandatory. It's not required, so we're going to skip over that. And what am I looking for? What is Jackson looking for? Let's say I need a bedroom. And then he's going to go ahead and select some of the options that are related to that. So let's put mattress, wardrobe, bed. We can put, let's say, drawers, decorations. And then we're going to click on submit. All right, and just like that, the information is going to go to the CRM application. So this is the role of the marketing department. They generate leads or business opportunities for the salespeople, and then the sales team will take over and try to convert them into real sales. So now let's go back to O2 and open the CRM application. All right, and you see a lovely thank you page. We're going to jump to CRM. Okay, and then under the new section, right here, we're going to see the opportunity that we just generated from that form. All right, so I have a new bedroom. And from here, the sales team is actually going to try to qualify this opportunity. So they will either call them or email the person, for example. And once it's qualified, we can actually move the stage, and we can do so simply by dragging and dropping, just like that. All right, but let's put it back for now since we haven't qualified just yet. And then after the person is qualified, we're going to make an offer. So we can move it to the proposition stage. And once that offer is accepted, we can then move the opportunity to one. But let's start from the beginning. So I'm going to click on this opportunity that was generated. I'm going to click on edit. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually change the expected revenue to $3,000. So that is the average price of the bedrooms that Cozy Homes sells. All right, so let's save that for now. And something that's really cool on this opportunity is that we can actually check the pages that were viewed by the customer by clicking on the smart button right here. So it's really nice because you can even see what items they're interested in or what items they're looking at, which is really cool. So we can find out a lot about this person's product. All right, so what we really want to do, though, is send a message to the person. So we're going to send them an email, which we can do directly from here. See if they want to have a phone call with a salesperson. So I'm going to click on send a message. I'm going to be sure we're sending this to Jackson. All right, and I'll say, are you available tomorrow at 10? All right, I won't be as casual as saying avail if it's for a real lead. I'll say it like that for now, and then we can go ahead and send this directly from this page to the customer. And that email is going to be logged here. And if they reply to that email, that will also be logged through Catch-all, so we'll be able to keep track or keep record of the conversation that we're having that way. All right, so now if the potential customer, or Jackson in this case, agrees, we can schedule a meeting directly from here as well. So I'm going to go back to these smart buttons. I'm going to click on meeting. And to create a meeting for tomorrow at 10, I can simply click on the slot, and then I'm going to change the summary. So I'm going to say phone call with Jackson. And I can leave it like that for now and come back and edit it later. I don't have to edit it at all. And if I would like to edit it, of course, let's say I want to edit it later, I just have to click. I have all the information, and then I can go to edit. I can add a location, tags, reminders, anything that I want to see. And this is also synchronized, or the calendar here also synchronizes with both Google and Outlook calendars, which is very convenient. All right, so let's go back. All right, something I didn't mention yet is that all of those tags that we selected from the form that we filled out on the website, they're all added here as well. So that's really great for the salesperson to see specifically which items that person is interested in. So we have a little bit of an idea of who they are, what they want, before we even interact with them the first time, which is really cool. All right, so now after talking to Jackson and seeing that he's very interested, we're going to send him a quote after the meeting. So we can also do that right here from the CRM application. So I'm going to click on New Quotation. All right, so this is going to create, of course, a new quote. The customer is going to be Jackson. All of his information is automatically calculated since I'm creating this from the opportunity. And then we can go ahead and add some products. So let's add a bed frame. All right, we're going to add a mattress, a nightstand, of course, and lastly, a wardrobe full set here. All right, great. And we can also directly view the availability of each product. So we see that icon here. So we can directly view the availability by looking at the availability icon. And of course, I can click on the icon to have more information. So I have my forecasted stock and the stock that I have available. And I can even click on View Forecast to have more details. And I will also see if I don't have any on hand. So right here, I don't have any forecasted and I have none available. All right, so we don't have any nightstands and we don't have any wardrobes in the inventory as the icons are red. All right, so we're going to notice that right away. But we're going to take care of that in a little bit. It's not an issue for them, and we're going to see why. But first, let's finish this process. So I'm going to save this quotation. All right, and then I'm going to send it by email. So I'm going to click on Send by Email, and I'm going to have a nice email template that pops up, which I can modify right away if I would like to, or I can just send as is, which is what I'm going to do. Now, you should note that there are different ways for the customers to confirm the quotation. So they can either pay for the quotation online, which will confirm it, turning it into a sales order. They can validate the quotation with an online signature or by email. But here, let's say that Jackson called us and just say, hey, let's do it. So we're going to just go ahead and confirm it for him by clicking on the confirm button. And just like that, we have a confirmed sales order. Now, with the creation of a sales order, the sales team job ends, as Cozy Home doesn't have everything in stock. Now it's the purchase department who needs to take over. They'll create the necessary purchase orders to replenish their supply, because we did have a couple items that we don't have on hand. So from the inventory app, they can access the replenishment feature. So let's jump to inventory. And we're going to go to operations replenishment. All right, so now I have all of the items that I need to replenish, including the nightstand and the wardrobe that we saw in the sales order that I just created. Now, This is really convenient. Here from the inventory application, they can either click on order once, all right, if they don't want to keep some items on hand, or they can automate orders. So the second option enables them to make sure they always have a minimum and a maximum quantity of product in their inventory. Now, as they don't want to keep the wardrobes in stock, I'm going to go ahead and just click on order once. And I'm going to see that the purchase order was created here, so I'll have that reference. You can even click there to go do it right away, but I'm not going to do that for now. But for the nightstands, they want to always have some ready, as these do sell like hotcakes. Everybody wants a nightstand, so I'm going to go ahead and set the minimum and maximum quantity. So the minimum will be 10, and the max quantity will be 30, and then I can simply click on automate orders. All right, and again, I'm going to see the purchase order that this item is a part of. All right, so this means that Odoo will generate a request for quotation whenever the nightstand inventory goes below 10 and will order enough to have 30 in stock. Now, the purchase department has to validate the request for quotation. So let's jump to the purchase application. All right, and we have that purchase order. So we're going to go ahead and select this. And it has both of the items that I just ordered, as they have the same vendor, and it is a request for quotation rather than a confirmed purchase order. Now, to automate the orders, you will need a vendor set on the product, but we'll talk about configuration a little bit later after the flow. All right, so here I have my purchase order. Everything looks good. I'm ready to confirm this, but actually, first, I want to send a confirmation request to the vendor before I actually confirm this. Now, I do see that they always deliver on time. They have a 100% on-time delivery rate, which is great. However, we can never be too sure, as Jackson is a first-time customer. I want to be sure that he doesn't end up disappointed. So I'm going to click on Edit, and when this option is checked, I will ask for confirmation 5 days before the delivery and save. All right, and then we can go ahead and confirm the order. All right, so we confirm the order. Now it's time for the inventory department to take over. The department manages the reception of the products. They have a list of products, both that need to be received and those that need to be delivered to the customers as well. So we're going to jump back to Odoo. All right, we're going to go to inventory. Now, the inventory team can manage stock either through the barcode app, but right now, as you can see, we're going to go to inventory and manage things this way. So let's first check out the receipts. So I'm going to click on the 4 letter to process. All right, so we have different items that are ready to be received from different vendors, but we also see that we have some products ready to be received from Wood Corner. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and select that. And let's say that the products have been delivered. So I'm going to go ahead and validate this. And that is going to make the demand quantity the done quantity if I don't manually edit the done quantity. So I'm just going to say everything we order, we receive. So let's go ahead and click on apply. Okay, and that transfer is done. So we have received those items. And since we have received the items, the related delivery order will also be updated. So let's go back to our inventory overview. I'm going to go to my delivery orders to process. All right, and let's go to this one right here for our customer, Jackson. All right, so now we have the demand, and we see that all items have been reserved. If we didn't have those in stock, again, we would see this icon in red. So now we're good to go. We're ready to deliver these items to Jackson. So let's validate this as well. And once again, it is going to apply the reserved quantities as stock quantities. So let's click on apply. All right, so that delivery is done. Now it's time for the accounting department to shine. They first have to confirm the vendor bill and pay it. So we're going to go back to the purchase application, actually. And we're going to go to the purchase order. All right, and since those items have been received, we can directly create the vendor bill from here. All right, so let's go ahead and click on create bill. Now they don't have to fill in anything manually, which is really nice. They simply have to check if the amount matches between the two documents. So what we see here and what we actually received then we can confirm this vendor bill. Let's go ahead and click on confirm, and the next step, of course, is to pay the vendor. And here we can easily register the payment. There are various ways to do that. You can click on the register payment button. You can do that with wire transfer or checks, but here I'm just going to select manual. And we're going to click on create payment. It's going to have the total amount already calculated there by default. So let's click on create payment. All right, and the bill is paid and ready to go. So now the only thing left to do is to invoice the customer. All right, so for that, we're actually going to jump back to the sales application. All right, we're going to go to our sales order for Jackson. All right, we see that all of the items have been delivered, and we're going to see these lines now in blue because since they've been delivered, they're ready to be invoiced. And we can invoice the customer quickly and easily right here by clicking on the Create Invoice button. However, to speed up their process, they usually like to create all of the invoices that need to be done through the sales application at once. So what we're actually going to do is click on To Invoice and go to Orders to Invoice. All right, so we're going to see that there are several orders that need to be invoiced. So we're going to select all of them, go to Action, and click on Create Invoices. All right, so I'm going to create and review the invoices. Okay, so let's select the one that we have for Jackson. All right, so I can confirm this, or the accountant can confirm this, and then we can send it to Jackson. So we can send this, we can print it and mail it to him, or we can even send it by post through Odoo by clicking this option. This is usually what Cozy Home does, as using both methods usually increases their chances of getting paid on time. But in this case, I'm just going to send by email. So let's click on send. All right. So we're going to send. We can register the payment as well. And there are various ways for Jackson to pay. And we can click on Create Payment. All right. And once this has been paid and all done, the accounting department can view all of the transactions, which can be synchronized automatically into the accounting applications. Let's jump to accounting. And we can synchronize our bank's transactions by adding a bank by clicking on Add a Bank right here. All right, choosing your bank, adding your credentials. If you have closed this little window, you can go to configuration and you can click on add a bank account there as well. All right, you can also import your bank statements, those transactions, and then ultimately the accounting team will reconcile the items. So we see the journal here, we see reconcile items, which I can click on. All right, and whenever the customer pays the invoice, we have those transactions in Odoo. The matching will be done automatically in the accounting app, as we see right here, and the sales order will be closed once those are reconciled. So it's as easy as that. Now, we've seen the whole flow. So let's see how to configure the database in order to repeat this flow. All right, everything is managed through the product configuration and gives us the possibility to automate tasks such as replenishment. So we're going to go back to our dashboard here, and I'm going to go to one of my products. Now I'm going to my list of products through the sales application, but I can also go to the products through inventory website, and so on. So let's go ahead and check out one of our KH Cozy Home products, and let's check our wardrobe, for example. Okay, I'm going to click on edit so that we see all of the options. So here we have selected storable as a product type. So we have the product type as a storable product, meaning that Cozy Home receives and delivers this item, as opposed to a service product, for example, where we would invoice based on timesheets and log time that way. All right, then we're going to go to the purchase tab. All right, we have a vendor set. As I mentioned earlier, you do need to have that vendor set in order to automate your replenishment. And on the control policy, we have the vendor bills on received quantities. All right, and this means that they're billed based on the quantities they actually received from the vendor and not those that are just ordered. We're going to go to the sales tab, and similarly, we have the invoicing policy set to delivered quantities, meaning the system will only offer the possibility to invoice the customers once the items have actually been delivered. And that's pretty much it for the configuration. So it's pretty simple, isn't it, to go through that whole
flow. There's very few things to set up, and it's all integrated and super convenient. So thank you for watching this flow. And if you're interested in learning more about the specific applications, be sure you check out our e-learning videos. Thanks, guys.